the video.
L&D Talk theme song improvised every week, so here goes. L&D Talk, we're talking learning and development. L&D Talk, right here on Web. I am on the L&D Talk. We're on the Twitters too, talking with, not to you, talking about all the things you do. Down in the talk, now give your warmest welcome to your L&D Talk host, Greg
I think you said I was supposed to fade it out right there, but I'm not sure. So you guys were able to hear that?
A little bit. It was soft, but we could get the gist of it.
Yeah, sadly I did not test that, but anyways, hey everybody, welcome. L&D Talk Video Friday. This is probably one of my favorite days. We are here today with a special guest, Greg Owen-Boger. I said that right?
You did. Good job.
Outstanding. And an extra special guest who's been hanging out with us for a long time, but finally jump into the video window. I don't even think I've ever attempted to say your last name, Craig, but I'm going to give it a shot. Craig Seibert?
Seibert, perfect.
Oh, whew. I was tossing between Seibert and Siebert, but I didn't think the Siebert would work. So
most people go with the E, but it's a Y.
Oh, yes, Seibert. I nailed it. All right. Excellent. So we're here every day, 8 a.m. Pacific time, doing L&D Talk, and today's Video Friday. We're talking about video stuff, specifically video stuff around e-learning, learning content development. One of my personal favorites. It's how I got started in this industry. I'll call it it was my first career before this. I did broadcast video production for a local NBC affiliate. So cut my teeth on 3/4 inch tape back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, that was good times. I'm showing my age. Actually, when I was in school, we actually had a 1-inch reel-to-reel. That was fun. So anyway, so here we are. So Greg, why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself and maybe a little bit of kind of what you were explaining earlier. How did you get to this space?
Sure. So I am the Vice President of Turpin Communication, which is a presentation and facilitation skills training company. We've been around for 24 years. I've been around for 20 of those. So now I wasn't working with film quite that old, but darn close to it back in the day. So I actually started my career as an actor, though. And so as such, I was on stage a lot, but I was also in front of the camera from time to time. So back in about 2007, 2008, Turpin decided that it was time to, like many training providers, go to a blended learning platform. And so that meant we needed to start developing some videos, both for pre-work, for our workshops, and then also skill reinforcement on the back end. And none of us really knew how to do that. And I was the one who had some experience, being on camera. So the responsibility sort of fell to me. And I started doing some research about, camera, lighting, sound, and there was nothing out there that was very useful for the e-learning space. I mean, there's lots of resources, even back then, for big video production and narrative, independent film, but that's not what we were doing. What we were doing was something very specific, very, very niche-like, and we knew that it also needed to be inexpensive and down and dirty, because there was no way that we were going to be able to hire a firm like you worked for just to do these e-learning courses. Financially, that just didn't make any sense. So we knew we had to do it in-house. And so we started tinkering, and trust me on this, we made every mistake imaginable, but we learned from that.
It's the best way to learn, right? Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yeah, exactly. I wish that I had all that time and money back that we spent on all those mistakes, but you live and learn, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, we created some e-learning courses that we were able to sell out on the retail market, but we also, as I said earlier, developed this blended learning program, and it was cool. I'll never forget the very first workshop that we went to after launching the pre-work. We were in the hotel bar the night before, and all of these people recognized our president, Dale Ludwig, who was the talent on the pre-work video. And they basically just stood up and cheered for the guy. They were like, yeah, we want to go to this class. Now, trust me on this, nobody wants to go to another presentation skills training class, right? But these people did.
Very
and so, right. But it happens all the time. And so what we used to face is skepticism in the training room just doesn't exist anymore. So it's sort of a happy byproduct of trying to go to this the blended learning platform. Now, of course, over the years, we've had to refresh these videos and use new technologies. So we're always learning. The big learning in the last 3 or 4 years is when we went to HD. That was a big deal because everything changes at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So, well, Craig, why don't we jump down to you? And you're doing some video stuff, aren't you? Do I remember correctly, or?
I actually was. The department I was in before, I was doing a lot of green screen video stuff.
Oh, cool.
Mostly just talking head stuff with some visual graphics overlays. But in the position I'm in now, I'm doing mostly just courses. There's no true video involved in it.
Yeah. So
I was doing a forum.
While I have you here, I just want to take advantage of the opportunity and let people get to know you. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Wow. So where do I start? I got into the training side of things about 6 years ago, but I graduated as a fine arts major with a focus in digital and a minor in photography. So I kind of slid that over and started doing things involved in graphics and video and audio. Turned that into a position in our company in our claims department as a trainer. So I was actually doing some classroom training, but then once they realized I could do audio and video and knew how to use software, flash animation, stuff like that, it was kind of a natural transition into it.
Yeah, once people find out you know how to do that kind of stuff, it's all over.
Yeah, they take advantage of it pretty quick. But having the background in both art and music and visuals in general kind of segued into that. Plus, my initial want when I got out of college was to be an instructor, preferably in art or digital technology. So I had both sides. I wanted to do both, and I had the experience in both sides. So I kind of fell into it. I've been doing it for, like I said, about 6-7 years now at our home office in our company, and I've got to use every facet. I've got to do audio. I've got my own audio studio. I've got to do video. I've got to do, use the software side of it and everything. So that's kind of where I am at this point.
Nice. Awesome. That is fabulous. It takes me back to one of the sessions we did a while ago. I don't remember which day it was on, but we were talking about how people in our industry randomly stumble into this field, and how there is a common theme, though. And one of those common themes is, there were 3 actually. I actually wrote a blog post about it because it was kind of uncanny how it all came out. Everybody that's in this industry, or at least that was in the blab at the time, has an exceptionally strong love of learning. They are exceptionally creative. And rats, now somebody help me remember the third. What was the other one?
Play guitar.
Yeah, that's musical of some sort. Yeah, maybe that was it. I don't remember, but yeah, we've got at least probably half of the little dots up there are guitar players or musicians of some sort. So,
and I think we've touched on it before. I think that having background in, some type of art, some type of creativity, it mixes really well with teaching in general because you're animated, you reach out to people, you connect with people. And I think that the people that excel at it are the people that have those two backgrounds inside of them.
Yep, I just remembered what it was. It was empathy. So it was empathy, creativity, and a love of learning. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the softer side of the artistic types. I don't know, but I mean, and what I mean by empathy was everybody likes to see people learn, likes to help people learn, likes to help people move to the next level. There's this idea of just wanting to see people learn. I know I was a classroom teacher for a long time, and it was fun to, my favorite thing was watching people get it, right? It's my favorite thing about having kids too. Well, there's a gazillion reasons why I love having kids, but isn't it great when your kids, like, you see them all of a sudden get it, or they start asking really curious, interesting questions, and then you answer them and you can see that they understand what the answer is and how excited they are to learn it. I mean, that's cool stuff. At least for me, I don't know, maybe I'm weird that way.
No, I agree 100%.
I do too.
So let's talk video. So I was telling Greg in an email, I'm like, maybe what we could talk about is how do we fix Brent's lighting?
I could probably use some help on that too at this point.
Yeah, we could definitely. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, how are you doing the black and white? Are you running through Cam Twist or something like that, or?
Honestly, I plugged my laptop in. I'm using the laptop camera, and I have headphones, with the speaker on it.
Yeah.
So honestly, I woke up a few seconds before, jumped on and plugged it in, and this is what it ended up with. So I'm not sure how to fix it.
Yeah, but it's probably just one little wire that's loose or something in the color scheme, but it's cool. I like it.
It's film noir.
Yes, that was the word I was looking for. Excellent. All right, yep. So let's start with lighting. Sure, what the heck? Let's jump right down in. It doesn't have to be about mine, but
sure.
What is it that we can? Let's start with this. What mistakes do we tend to see most in video lighting, either in e-learning or not?
Yeah. So I wouldn't.
Maybe
I'm not sure that there's one single mistake that people make. But I suppose you could boil that down into the fact that people just don't know what. I mean, when they see good lighting, they recognize it. But it's like good graphic design. You see a beautiful brochure and you go, that's beautiful. But what is it that makes it beautiful, right? And then you start to understand color palette and alignment and just those very basic terms. And all of a sudden, you can start to design a beautiful brochure. I think the same thing is true with video lighting. I want to make a disclaimer here. I set up the studio lighting today for me for my HD camera, which is on the other side of the room, kind of, or a couple feet away. But for some reason, Blab wouldn't talk to it, or it wouldn't talk to Blab. So I'm actually using my laptop camera now. And there are a lot fewer settings with that. I wish I could show you the other. But anyway, the basic idea for lighting for video is called three-point lighting. There are no mystery here, 3 different light sources.
Yep.
And the idea is that you have a key light, which is the brightest light. Now, for me, my key light is right there. So, and I'm actually using studio lighting right today. So you can see that this side of my face is it's lit well. Right now, over here on this side, my fill light, which is supposed to be a slightly dimmer light, is actually the window, and it's getting a little bit brighter. The clouds are rolling away, so actually, it looks like this is my key light and this is my fill light over here. Whatever. But the idea is that you want one side to be a little bit brighter than the other because that makes the face kind of pop, if you will.
Yeah, a little bit more.
The other thing, though, this is. What?
It gives a little bit more dimension, right? And a little bit more depth, not harsh shadows, but enough shadows so that it doesn't look really flat.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, the magic light that our videographer likes to call it is the backlight, and it usually is. Well, it can be a dim light or it can be very bright. Mine happens to be really bright, and it's right over here, just a little bit out of shot. In fact, I could probably. There you go.
Ah, cool. Okay.
And so what that's doing is it's just giving contour to my shoulders, and you can see that there's a little bit of brightness right here. Just again, it provides a little bit of depth. It's not rocket science. You don't have to use fancy studio lighting. You can use household lamps or whatever. But the idea is that you want to give yourself some depth.
Yeah, it's perfect. And I think so. Craig, anything to add to that?
Yeah, as far as I think there's two different things you deal with when you deal with video. One is obviously depth. The other one is color. And I think the research that I did on tungsten balanced bulbs as compared to regular bulbs probably will last me the rest of my life as far as video goes. And I think that's one of the things.
You actually did research on tungsten bulbs.
Well, it makes a big difference when you're talking about colors and how you separate colors, and especially when you're working with green screens and stuff.
Yeah.
The difference in colors makes a big difference. And I kind of wish somebody would have talked to me about that before I went in and started shooting video with a 60-watt bulb in a little can on the side. So yeah, that was a big point that I took away from it.
Well, it's a perfect segue, because that's exactly where I was going to go with this next. Is that whether we call it color, temperature, or I don't remember how it goes. I remember my first introduction into trying to figure it out was when I was just taking pictures in an auditorium at my son's high school. And I remember I had everything set. I liked to try to shoot manuals because it forces me to kind of learn how everything works. And I couldn't get the white balance right at all. And so I came home and very frustrated and Googled it and asked some people on the forums. And they're like, oh, well, did you turn the temperature setting to like 13,000 or something like that? And I'm like, time out. I thought there was just daylight setting, indoor setting, fluorescent setting, incandescent. I thought that was it. And they're like, no. So, yeah. So then I had to start figuring it out. But so, and people have mentioned that at times I look like an alien on this particular video program. And this might be an interesting way for us to talk about that whole color scheme. So right now, I'm only using an exceptionally cheap studio 3-light setup that I got on Amazon. I think I shared the link the other day. It actually always pops up as the top thing if you do studio lighting kit. It's like the cheapest one. It's like $100 for 3 lights. Anyways, if somebody wants to find that and pop it into the live chat, that'd be cool. But the only one I'm not using is the backlight because I'm so darn close to my wall in my office. I don't have a lot of space. I haven't quite figured out how to get that separation from the back wall. And so I'm using that light on a table behind, a mini table behind my laptop. And it's kind of reflecting off the ceiling. I've got it pointed at the ceiling, or else if I point it right at me, it's really bright and my head shines. Even though it's shining right now, it normally shines worse. And then I've got my umbrella light. And actually, I guess I could show this too. My office is a mess, but let's just give this a shot. What the heck? So there's my umbrella light over there. God, everything's like the opposite. And then, so here's you guys. And then right above you, oops, this way, is that light that's supposed to be the backlight, the third light of the lighting kit. But I'm using it as one of the key lights or the fill lights. And so so to get to color, I now have 2 lights that are the exact same kind of bulb. And so I'm much more evenly colored. My naturally strange color is all one, so it's good. So here's what happens when I was normally like you do, Greg. I was trying to take advantage of the windows I have right here, but this is what happens when I do that. And we have kind of a cloudy day today, so I may not actually get the same effect that I'm looking for, but we probably will. So that's
So as
kind
you
of
were
what-
stepping away, when
What's
you were
that?
stepping away, we couldn't hear you. We couldn't
Oh.
hear you. So can you repeat what you were saying?
Oh yeah. Wow, my mic actually does work directionally like that. Awesome. So yeah, so I've opened up the curtain on that side of me, and I normally have done that in the past, but that's when people say, Brent, you look like an alien, you're multicolored. And so I think it's important for people to know that this color right here that you're seeing is more, now I may get this wrong, so you guys back me up on this. It's blue, right? Outdoor light tends to come in and look bluish on video.
Well, you can see that. Yeah, you can see that what I've got right here is natural light, and it's coming through more blue right now.
Yeah, you definitely overall for sure. So you kind of have to think about that, and you always know that you're accidentally mixing in too much outdoor light when your image is a little bit bluer than you want it to be. Yeah, daylight is bluer. Thank you, Adam. And now, so this is, if I do this, now I'm not using the studio lights, and I'm just using my outside and my the incandescent bulbs up in the ceiling fan. Normally it comes across as a little bit more yellow. So I think the last time I did this, I was kind of yellow and blue, which made for a very nice green right in the middle. And it was, I think that's where people thought I was looking like an alien. But yeah, so that's kind of, that's my little experiment around colors. Did I miss anything?
Well, colors are also relational to each other. So with the shirt color you're wearing, it's going to make your face look a little more red. You wear a bluer shirt, it's going to take some of the blue out of your face. So you got to be cognitive of that when you're shooting video as well. That your backdrop, if it's a bright red, and you put somebody that's wearing bright blue in front of it, you're going to it's going to be a different color blue than if you put them in front of something that's neutral or white.
Yeah. So man, you are the master of the segue today. That does take us right to the iris, right? So I think one of the things I encountered a few weeks ago when I was upstairs shooting against a dark red wall, and I would wear one of my black shirts, the camera would kind of freak out and try to adjust for all of the dark, and it would try to open up the iris a little bit more, and it would wash out my face. And then when I would wear my white shirt, it just completely went wacko the other direction up against the light wall. So yeah, I mean, there's all these little things that I don't think everybody really thinks about. Like how many times do you say, I'm going to go shoot a quick video? Oh geez, what color shirt am I wearing? Or is there going to be a window right behind me? To mess things up. I think one of the most common things that I see, especially in blab videos and whatnot, is that people often have a window right behind them, and it just turns them it just turns their face into just a silhouette.
Right.
And I guess that's a better example of what the iris and the lighting adjustment on the camera is doing. Even webcams, it tries to figure out, what's going to be the optimum setting based on the brightness and the contrast of the image. And if there's super high contrast, one part's going to be extra dark, the other part's going to be, extra bright, and then there's going to be a little spot right on the money, and there's going to be hardly any of that middle ground.
Yeah, I said that we made every mistake in the book, and one of those mistakes was relying on the automatic settings on the cameras. When we hired a real videographer who then was doing white balance and all the other, fiddling with all the other settings that I don't even understand, and glad that I don't have to understand them in the role that I have now. But yeah, I mean, he's fiddling with all of those things and making minor adjustments to make the video look as good as possible. And one of the things we should probably talk about is in e-learning, if you think about the number of distractions that a learner has when they're sitting, watching the e-learning video or the e-learning course, we shouldn't add to that distraction, right? And I think those distractions come through sound quality, audio quality, 100 different things probably. But our jobs are hard because we need to understand what those distractions are and then understand how to fix them.
Yeah. I think one great way, I mean, sure, this is accidental, but I've actually gone black and white just because I couldn't get my lighting just right. So I just thought, screw it. I'm just going to go black and white. And, you know, I don't know, it's kind of cheating, but sometimes people are like, oh, that's that's really cool that you did that training video in black and white, like I did it on purpose or something.
And I think we've touched on it before that distractions will definitely take away from the learning experience. So you want to have people escape as much as they can from the distractions to get the information to them. So I mean, we've talked around about that before. That's come up quite a few times.
Yeah. So I think, and if we want to get all academic about it, it's cognitive load, right? Is what we talk about in the learning space. I just like to refer to it as make the learning as frictionless as possible, right? Try to eliminate as much of the stuff in between the learner and the content, or the learner and the person that has the knowledge. Eliminate as many elements as you can between those two things. That's going to be your most effective learning experience. And it all starts with one-on-one, right? Really. I mean, if you can eliminate everything that's between the two people, your instructor or your subject matter expert and the person that needs to learn, that's the most ideal, but it doesn't scale up, right? There's no way in a corporation or a business, especially if you have a global business, where you can scale it up. And that's where I think video plays a very, very powerful role that I don't think, and I think it's because of cost and everything, but I don't think our industry has really taken advantage of it the way it should. And I think nowadays we are, and it's becoming more and more and more popular since it's become, more inexpensive. It's become, digital has made it great, and stuff like this is great. Streaming is just fantastic. I mean, I am all in 100% on video all the time. I'm just trying to figure out what are the best ways to utilize it, and how we as an industry, as a learning and development industry, can figure out how best to utilize video. And that's why I love Video Fridays so much, is to have these conversations and how we create it. So let's jump off of color. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say that, there's the produced video that is packaged in an e-learning course, but there's also, as you said, the streaming video, and like what we're doing right now, and in Zoom and a handful of other the platforms that do video really well.
Yeah.
And people say to me quite often in the work that we do, how do you engage people in the conversation in video? And it is a different art form, right? Because when you're sitting in a room live with someone, it's really easy to make eye contact and really make that human connection. But on video, it's much harder. And I think that if I were to say there's one thing that people can do in a situation like this, is look directly into the camera's lens, like I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Now, I can't see you right now because I'm looking into the camera's lens, but you are seeing me make that connection with you, as everyone else would be as well. And so in video, it's not so much how it feels, but how it looks to the other people. And I think if we can just make that switch for people, it's going to make all the difference in the learning environment.
Yeah, especially online. So like people that do webinars, for example, and use any of those tools to actually deliver a training course. You're right. And I think there's a new set of skills, right? I know some people who specialize in helping people do I don't know if the word still sticks or not, but we used to call it synchronous learning as opposed to asynchronous learning. And I don't think the term ever stuck, but online, live webinar style learning, I guess is what we call it now. I don't know. But I mean, there's a whole new set of not really rules, but just ways you can use that medium more effectively. It's not just as simple as, oh, I'm a stand-up trainer in a classroom. All I have to do is point this camera at me and I'll be just as effective. And it totally doesn't fly like that. So, we were working with a group of, so these are subject matter experts who are asked to be faculty members in a certificate program. And all of the learning was done live on video, very much like what we're doing right now. And so I asked them if I could, take a look at some of the recordings that they had. And all of the instructors, let me see if I can
recreate this. The instructors were doing things like this, right? They had their camera placement completely wrong. And it never occurred to them, because they didn't know those basic skills.
Yeah.
It never occurred to them that they can just do this, and all of a sudden, now they're in frame, and now people can actually see them. So it's not that they were dumb, of course. They just didn't know the new rules of being on video.
Yeah, so headroom, right? I think that was one of the first things I learned in learning how to do broadcast. It's like headroom. Figure out what that space needs to be.
Yep.
And I think to go further on that, when you put people in front of a camera, a video camera, I think that they don't think past a still shot when they're in front of the camera. They can't think that this is going to be a moving picture that someone's going to see, not just an instance in time that you can fix later on. And that was one of the problems I had with shooting people that didn't know how to project themselves on video, is like you said about looking at the camera, Greg. You know, some of them were looking at me while I was standing off to the side helping them with their lines and stuff. And I'm like, you can't do that. You have to be, you're talking to someone. And they couldn't understand that talking to the camera meant they were talking to someone. They couldn't think past that.
And it's hard. Like when I do these blabs, I have a really hard time to remember to look up just even a couple inches to be looking at the camera. It's so much more fun to look at the chat and to look at you guys when you're talking. And then I notice, oh yeah, I'm looking down again. I should try to look at the camera. And it's not easy. It's it's a skill. It's a practice that you just have to kind of get used to. And I do this a lot, and I'm still trying to get used to it. So maybe it's something
Craig,
that
I want to
we
jump
all
on
just
something
get used to.
I think eventually we will get used to it. It just like anything else, right? You get used to it, then it becomes the norm. But I don't think we're there on video yet. But Craig, I want to jump on something that you said, because I think it's really critical. That you said talk to. I forget. Oh gosh, how did you say it? Talk to a single person or something. But anyway, one of those mistakes that we made in our e-learning courses was we thought that we were talking to a room full of people, and that changed the tone. It changed pronouns. It changed so many different things that when we watched it back on video, it was just off. It felt like we were looking in on something rather than being in it. So we always say when you're on, especially talking head video, on video like this, it should feel as if you're talking to a single individual that you have a friendly relationship with, and that really makes all the difference. But you have to flip your head into understanding that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do, and I think it makes it more personal. And you're right, without kind of setting someone up that's going to be behind the camera for that attitude to tell them that, hey, you're going to be speaking to a single person. They assume, like you said, I'm a teacher, I'm teaching to a classroom, so I'm just going to pretend I'm teaching to a classroom, and then they lose that connection, that personal feel to it. So,
yeah, we've worked with some folks working on MOOCs, right? And getting the professors to flip into that sense of just talking with one person has been a real challenge.
Yeah, so let's move on to one other topic before we have to end today. I almost don't want to. This is like the first time where I've thought, I wonder if we should go longer than an hour.
I have a client call. Sorry.
Oh, dang it! All right, I'll let you go at 9. Maybe Craig and I'll just hang out for an extra hour and just talk shop or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But anyway, so let's talk audio, right? Real quick. Let's squeeze in audio so we're not just focused on the one piece of video. So what's if you could throw out maybe just like your top 1 or 2 tips for audio, what would those be?
Pay more attention to audio than you do the video. I think that distracting audio is more distracting than distracting video. Excellent. Craig?
I would say quality is a big one. As far as a lot of people will do a recording and there's so much background hum or background noise that it almost takes away from I don't want to say the validity of the audio, but it certainly takes away from being connected to that audio itself. And I also think that background music, people do not know how to use background music very well. Putting something underneath somebody speaking comes dangerously close to people putting something over people speaking. And that level of background music really has to be done cautiously.
Yeah, and I hear that all the time, and I think you're right. It's a great point that both of you make, because I think it's kind of I don't know what it's not something that would be readily obvious, right? When people say, "Oh, I'm going to do video," the last thing they think about is audio. It's like, I got to get the video just right. I got to figure out how to, how I'm going to point it, and then I'm going to just press the record button. And yet, in a very, very strange sort of way, and we all know this, it's why we point this out, that people will tolerate bad video, but they have much lower tolerance for bad audio. And I've always found that very interesting.
Well, I think what Greg said, though, is really important, that a lot of people will, buy the best digital camera they can possibly buy and then use the microphone built into it instead of, remicing someone and actually mixing in the audio itself. And when you do that, you really lose a good quality of any type of either video or learning or e-learning, because they didn't pay attention to that audio. And I think if they paid attention to it first, like Greg said, I think that would make a big difference in a lot of the video.
Yeah, and I think too that there's you want to go digital when you're recording audio these days. The analog just doesn't cut it.
Indeed.
Agreed.
I've shown this off before, but now I can't find it. Okay, so this is kind of a pricey little bugger, but I use this mic from Rode. It's the Rode Video Mic Pro, and I now use it on my new DSLR camera, but I also use it to connect to my iPhone, and it becomes sort of my portable video recording rig. And this microphone, or really any microphone, it does jack up the quality significantly. And it makes a huge difference. And I didn't really think it would. I actually bought it just because I wanted it, but I didn't really think it would make that big of a difference. But wow, it steps everything up a notch. And I even use it when I do Periscope and stuff like that. Any sort of video from my phone, I'll just snap that in real quick, just so I can get better audio. And it works great. There's cheaper ones out there too that I think would help.
Is that an audio, an analog connector or digital?
I think it's analog. Yeah, it's just your standard mini. Oops.
Yeah, so we bought one of those too. I don't think it was that brand, but it was one similar with a shotgun on it, and we ran it alongside this little thing right here, the Logitech, that maybe is, I think at the time, under $20.
Yep.
This thing right here had superior audio to the really fancy shotgun mic.
Oh, really?
So this is what no kidding. And we've tried a couple other brands from this, because apparently Logitech stopped making this. I don't know why. The other brands just weren't as good as this. So I'm hoping that this one never dies.
Yeah, it's amazing what some of those one can get. I've got I think it's a Logitech headset with one of the little mics on it. And it was a gaming mic. It was a gaming headset thing. And I think I paid maybe $75 for it, like a long time ago. And it's still a great microphone and great audio. Every time I've ever jumped on a webinar or got onto any sort of thing where I needed a headset, I'm like, okay, how does my audio sound? They're like, wow, it's great. You're sounding much better than everybody else. And I'm like, wow, amazing what $70 can do for you.
Yeah.
Hey, Brent, I want to take one more thing to the end of the audio. It's not echo or reverb is something you cannot take out of audio. I wish somebody would have told me that. I made about a 6-hour recording at one point that was in a room that was very flat-walled. Got a lot of echo, went through probably another 7 or 8 hours of trying to take echo or reverb out of audio. It's impossible. Yeah, the big warning. If you're going to do it, make sure that the room's padded.
Yes,
something.
Absolutely. Here's how my rig sets up on my iPhone. So when I go out and grab quick interviews or whatnot out in the field, this is a quick way to just fire it up real fast and make stuff happen. So what do we want to hit on before we wrap up today? What else?
Well, I would say let's do a plug for the e-learning video forum. It is a group on LinkedIn. I'll do a plug for it. I started it with Turpin Communication, and then we got really busy with the other portions of our work, and we just sort of let it slide. But Sam has really taken off with it, and I would love to see that group be the resource for e-learning video needs.
Yeah, let me see if I can get that into the other window here real quick. While I'm doing that, Greg, how about you? What else do you want to add about video for us today? Oh, I meant Craig. I'm sorry.
I know. The only day I would come in, you already have a guest. Not only do you have a guest, but his name is really close to mine. And I got called Greg most of my early life anyway,
sorry.
So it's just confusing that this one. That's fine.
Salt into wound.
No, it's been
Salt, yeah.
Exactly. Thanks, Brent. I appreciate it. No, I don't think I can add any more. Again, I used video for quite a while independently as well. I helped a friend shoot some independent movies in Orlando for a couple months. Did some after shooting and stuff, but I think the best thing about a video is having someone escape from what they're doing. If you can pull them away from what their real life is and their desk and their regular job, and get them into what you're doing, that's the true result of a good video. And I think it especially translates into e-learning and education when you can pull somebody away from their daily job and put them in a room or put them in front of a computer, and they can escape and actually be engaged in the either video or learning or whatever it is. I think that's the true mark of good video.
Well, I would totally agree. Let me jump to the chat room real quick. I have noticed they've been carrying on snarky conversations while we've been chatting. Any of you folks want to jump in and have any last final questions for us about video? I know I had a request for a cowbell. How's that?
Yeah. I did notice that a couple of people were talking about editing software.
Oh, yeah.
And I am no expert in that, but our videographer was using the Mac Suite, iMovie, I think is what it was called, for his work. He went to film school and all that. And I said, hey, that's a little bit too fancy. We don't need all those bells and whistles for what we're doing. Why don't you use Camtasia? And now he prefers Camtasia over anything else.
Oh, wow.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm having a hell of a time finding the video. It's the e-learning video forum. Is that what the one it's called?
Yeah, e-learning video forum. I could probably pull it up right fast.
I just found it because it's funny. So if any of you out there watching this video or try to do a search for video and learning, there's actually like half a dozen different groups on this same topic. So not too sure if that's going to cause an issue or not, but oh well. And let me post this in. Let me see. I don't know if LinkedIn will show up on this screen share thing. Okay. Huh, it did it. Sort of. It just went to LinkedIn here. I'll just put it in the chat. There, that's better. But yeah, we can all go there and hang out and talk. And I'll post just reminders about Video Friday in there for folks. We can use this place to talk every Friday about video stuff. And this has been great. This has been great. I'll wrap up the recording here with just a few elements. Greg, thank you so much for being with us today. Where can people find you?
I just put it in the chat. You can contact me at email greg@turpincommunication.com or on Twitter at turpincom.
Perfect. And Craig, how about you?
At Contrast Band on Twitter, and I'll actually paste my WordPress where I've been kind of halfway writing stuff.
Cool.
I need to get back to doing that, but Those are my two
Awesome.
contact points.
Sounds great. And for everybody else out there, my name is Brent Schlenker. We're here every day, 8 a.m. Pacific time for L&D Talk, a different topic every single day with a different collection of awesome colleagues in the learning and development and corporate training field. You can read my blog at litmus.com/blog. I am the Chief Learning Officer at Litmus. We have a big event coming up in Vegas, second week of May, called the Calidus Cloud Connections. You can check that out at litmus.com/C3. And if you're in the market for a learning management system, you know who to talk to. I'm your guy. So anytime you guys want to reach out to me, I'm at B Schlenker, or you can hit me up at Litmus as well. Either way works. But anyways, thanks everybody. I know everybody's got 9 o'clock, so I'll cut you loose. Greg,
thanks, Brent. It was a real pleasure being here. Thanks a lot. And Craig, good to meet you too.
Yeah, take care. You can jump off if you need to.
Yeah, clients call.
Yeah, no worries. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And everybody else that's still here, thank you very much for being here. The chat, the live chat was outstanding. If you're watching this on video, thanks for watching. And that's all for Video Friday. We will see you on Monday. Adios.